Hi Peach, I hope you're having a lovely day today. In this video, I'm going to show you how to make a, quote, nondescript Toadstool video game character hat. I do have a free version of this pattern on my website, theproductivepeach.com. I also have a free version available for download on my Etsy and my Ravelry, and I'll have all of that linked below in the description. To start this hat, I'm going to need 4 colors. One for the mushroom stem, one for the mushroom cap, one for the polka dots, and one for the eyes, not pictured, but I chose black. I'll also need a 4mm crochet hook, scissors, darning needle, stitch markers, a 5mm crochet hook, and a row counter. To start, I'm going to make a magic circle with 8 half double crochets. The size of the hat I'm making is going to determine the number of increase rows I'm going to make, and then how many additional rows I'm going to make before the color change. I have all of those specific details listed in the written pattern for you. If you would like to achieve a straight seam as I have displayed here, I do have a short step-by-step video tutorial on all of my major social media platforms, as well as a written tutorial with labeled photographs on my website. Once I'm about 6 rows away from the end of my hat, I'm going to switch colors to my tan yarn I've chosen for my mushroom stem. For this color change method, I have another short video tutorial on all of my major social media platforms, as well as a written tutorial with labeled photographs on my website. Regardless of hat size, I'm always going to use this second color on the last 6 rows of the hat. Next, I'm going to begin making the polka dots for the hat and for the pigtails. For the polka dot rounds, I'm using single crochet instead of half double crochets, and I'm making one size for the hat and a smaller size for the pigtail balls. After that, I'm going to make the eyes. Now you may find the eyes to be a little tricky. I'm going to be working in a round but not in a magic circle. I'm going to make a chain and then crochet around that chain, so instead of making a circle, I'm actually making an oval. I'll only make 2 rounds around the chain to get the eye size I want for this particular pattern. Finally, I'm going to start making the balls for the pigtails of my Toadstool character hat. I'm making 2 each of 3 sizes. For the balls, I once again used a single crochet, but I started with fewer single crochets in the initial magic circle to achieve the dome shape I was going for. Then I did a few non-increase rounds in the middle before I started to reverse the pattern I used to start the balls. Once I'm a few rows away from the end, I'm going to flip the ball inside out to weave in the tail from my initial magic circle. Then I'll flip it right side out again and start to stuff the ball with fiberfill. I'm alternating between crocheting around and stuffing more fiberfill until I reach the end. Now, I'm going to start sewing all the pieces together, but first I have to weave in all the ends on the inside of my hat. First, I'll start with the eyes by clipping them in place to make sure they're exactly where I want and stay in place while I'm sewing them to the hat. Next, I'm going to clip my larger polka dots to my hat, and this is why I did the eyes first, because they're going to help me align the front and back dots perfectly. Then I can use those 2 dots to place the dots on the sides of the hat. The top dot will be centered directly on top. Once I have all of those clipped in place and like the presentation, I'm going to sew them onto the hat. After all of those bigger dots are sewn onto the hat, I'm going to sew the smaller dots onto the biggest ball for each pigtail. The spacing on these was more random, and I just made sure they were spaced far enough apart to not touch each other. Once all of the smaller details are sewn together, I'll finally attach the pigtail balls to the hat. First though, I'm going to use stitch markers to make sure I align them each up correctly. First, I'm going to sew one of my mid-sized balls directly to the hat by sending the tail of the ball through the stitch where I placed my stitch marker. Then I'll wrap it around that stitch one more time until the tail is on the inside of the hat. Once I have the tail of my ball on the inside of my hat, I'll create a sewing knot to hold it in place before weaving in the end several times for good measure. Next, I'll grab one of my smallest balls and I'll orient it so the side with the tail is lined up directly with the center of the ball I just sewed to the hat. Then I'll send that tail through that mid-sized ball before attaching it the same way I did the mid-sized ball. After that is attached, I'll do the same thing with the biggest ball, the one with the polka dots, by lining the center with the tail with the bottom center of the smallest ball, and sending it through the center of the smallest ball, followed directly by the center of the mid-sized ball, and attaching it to the hat the same way we did the first two. Once all of those are attached, I will do the same exact thing on the other side. And now, you finally have a, quote, nondescript Toadstool video game character hat. I hope that you all enjoyed this tutorial. Please be sure to leave me some feedback in the comments, like the video, hype it, and if you're feeling peachy, hit that subscribe button to keep up with all of my new crochet tutorials. Thanks for tuning in. I'll see you next time.